YouTube friends, what's going on? David Lee back with a brand new video. Today we're talking about when you need to use a cinema camera. What exactly is a cinema camera? Well, it's something you can use that gives you more than what a DSLR or mirrorless camera gives you. Typically, you'll have access to higher frame rates, you'll have access to more latitude or more dynamic range. You get all kinds of connectors built onto the camera, in some way, shape, or form. SDI outputs, time code, gen lock, things you would use on a bigger production when you have like a sound mixer on, you have a director's monitor or like a wireless video village set up so that your director and producers can see what the camera's seeing. Some of them even have built-in NDs like the C300 Mark II, the FS7s, the Area Mirror. When exactly do you need to make that step up, whether you're renting or buying a cinema camera compared to using your smaller form factor cameras? Well, take for instance this Scarlet W weapon that I have. I'm renting it from a friend of mine who lives out in LA, and I wanted to use it for as a technical test for a documentary that I'm writing right now. It's something more of like a passion for me, but it's a story that I want to tell over the next 2 years, so starting next year. And I want to see exactly which camera is going to fit my needs. Now, obviously, I have the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, which I will be using for the documentary. It just does mostly everything that you need. But cameras like the Red Scarlet W have 16.5 plus stops of dynamic range and actually usable dynamic range. So perhaps it's one of your qualms is you need a camera with just better dynamic range, like 14 or 15 usable stops in real world scenarios. How about access to higher frame rates? Is 4K 60 all you need? Is 1080p 60 frames all you need? What if you have a project coming up that you need, say 4K 120 frames per second, or maybe you, for whatever reason, right? You need like 6K at 66 frames per second. There's only so many cameras that can do that, and right now there's only cinema cameras that can do that. Your Kinefinity cameras, your Red cameras, and in some cases your Blackmagic cameras like the Ursa Mini Pro G2. All that being said, there always comes a price when it comes to using the higher end cameras. The Ursa Mini Pro G2 is $6,000. This Red Weapon or this Red Scarlet W, right now you could get it used for like $12,000 or $13,000 as a full package. But that's still a lot of money, compared to like a Blackmagic Pocket 4K. You could buy like almost like 10 of those, right? Do you have the funds to actually use these bigger cameras? Because number one, you need to add accessories to the camera to make it work, at least with the Reds and with some of the Aries. For the most part, when you're going up to that higher price range, you're gonna need either like a small crew to run with you, or you need to be physically fit to use these bigger cameras all day, whether you're on sticks or whether you're on an easy rig or you have it on a gimbal. Whereas I think 99% of us that are using like your GH5s, your Sony a7 IIIs, cameras like that, you can pretty much use those cameras like all day. You're not gonna get fatigued, you're not gonna get tired. On top of that is media, right? Not every camera uses like SD cards. Some of the bigger cameras do use CFast cards, like the Arri cameras use CFast cards, the Ursa Mini Pro uses CFast cards. Cameras like the FS5 still use SD cards, and like the higher end ones use XQD cards. So just to put things in context, like a CFast card, a 256 gigabyte card on the Pocket 4K, Blackmagic RAW 12:1 gives you 155 minutes of recording. Again, Blackmagic RAW 12:1 to a single 256 gigabyte card. On the Red Scarlet W, it shoots in 5K. If you go 5K 12:1 on a 480 gigabyte Red Mini Mag, you're getting about 256 minutes total. But it all comes at a cost, right? The 480 gigabyte Red Mini Mag costs $1,450, right? $1,450. The CFast card, a 256 gigabyte from EgoDisc, costs $299, right? Meaning you can buy 3 of those CFast cards and actually have more footage overall, right, in the macro. So you really have to ask yourself, like, if you need the latitude, if you need the resolution, if you need the higher frame rates, it comes at a cost, right? And if anything, that's where renting comes in. Rent gear, rent equipment. That way you're gonna save money because you're not, spending tens of thousands of dollars on gear that you may only use a couple of times a year, right? Even though you may use them a couple of times a year and perhaps you make your money back, perhaps you don't make your money back, right? Renting it saves you from the hassle of going into ownership of very expensive gear that really just doesn't make sense for you to own. However, if you are in a situation where this camera is going to serve you years and years and years, months and months and months, whether it's a higher end Canon or a higher end Sony, an Arri camera or a Red camera, I think it's okay for, for us to just have this discussion and say like, dude, I think it makes sense for us to purchase this camera because of the types of projects that we're doing, the scale of it, again, the latitude, we need the latitude. You're doing a lot of maybe heavy VFX stuff, you need high frame rate stuff, maybe you shoot a lot of music videos or higher end food commercials, maybe you're doing like action sports, winter sports, skateboarding, motocross kind of stuff, right? It makes sense to actually own one of those cameras like a Red because you're using it, almost over and over and over again. I love shooting on smaller cameras, don't get me wrong. They bring a lot of value, and especially when you're only paying like, $1,500, maybe $2,000, that's something you can easily make back within like a month of working client work. But I think there also comes that time where, you have to really ask yourself, am I really pushing myself when it comes to making the best pieces of content, right? If that's like an actual film or a documentary or a music video, right? Our small cameras, our GH5s or Sonys, our Canons can only do so much when it comes to the creative level, right? Yes, you can light stuff and you can get better when it comes to lighting a scene, lighting subjects, right? Things like that. But the camera at the end of the day and the lenses that we use really help dictate what the overall image is going to look like in the end. Just some food for thought, renting versus owning a camera. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below. Love to hear from you guys. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as always, just so you know if I have new content coming out. And remember friends, every day you have an opportunity to create your experience and to write and tell your own story. My name is David Lee, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.